It's November the 14th, 2023, 11 a.m. I will call this meeting to order. First order is the approval of the agenda. Hopefully everyone's had opportunity to peruse it and is comfortable with it. If so,
Be it resolved that the agenda for the November 14th, 2023 Budget Committee meeting be approved as presented.
mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones and Councillor Hentz. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting held on October 24th, 2023 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Reverse order, Councillor Sloan and Councillor Hentz will second. All in favor? That's carried. Would remind committee members of disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. This brings us to section 6, reports and briefings, consideration for funding budget 2024 6.1. That's you, Jen.
Good morning, Mr. Warden, through you to members of the Budget Committee. Council this year has received two major requests for consideration of additional funding spanning across the 2024 budget year and beyond. The county does lack a policy related to funding of this nature, so council has suggested that these requests be forwarded to the Budget Committee for consideration. We've included the original requests in your budget package so that it can be there for your information. Two of the requests fall within the non-core functions of a municipality as outlined in the Municipal Act, and the lack of a county policy related to the funding of non-core items has prompted discussion at the council level that supports that while these are important projects to the community, that the general nature of these requests fall outside of the scope of the core health-related activities for which the county is responsible. One of the items may be considered for inclusion under the cultural services envelope. Staff are also aware of other pending priorities upcoming, and these will also be discussed as relevant items for Budget Committee to consider. Staff also wanted to make the committee aware that we are awaiting information related to social services and public health, which are also shared services that we are responsible for. So these amounts have not been included at this time. Under scenario A, we have information related to just the base funding. So one of our core responsibilities is long-term care, and in 2025, that repayment of that debt will be coming online. So that is approximately $500,000 in the first year and $1 million thereafter for 25 years. So that puts approximately 2.3% on the levy just for that one item. And so that's approximately $50 per household. In scenario B, we have included the request for the hospice for 1.2 million as they requested 300,000 per year. And for the hospital, we put this within the 5-year window of support, so 500,000 per year. This then adds approximately another 2% or $39 per household on the levy in 24 and thereafter. So additional to this, St. Thomas has requested additional funding for the Health Recruitment Partnership for 2024. And we currently support this program by $71,000 in the budget, and they're asking for an additional $30,000 going forward. We assume going forward, we've been asked for 1 year support, but we're including it as if it's ongoing. So beyond 2028 in scenario B, the levy then returns back down to the 2.3%. In scenario C, we just timelined it out a bit longer, so we put this in for a 10-year window of support. As you can see, there's a smaller spike in the third year when we bring in the full debt repayment, but it brings the ask from 2% down to approximately 1% on the levy. So this is a large ask. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention at this time as we go into the budget. One of the other items that we talked about was potentially the consideration for a funding policy related to these asks of this nature. So a commitment to fund outside sources like this does require us to add it to the levy, as there is no place for us to be able to go forward and ask for support in order to offset the cost of this. In our core services, we do advocate the provincial and federal government and add user fees whenever possible. Unfortunately, these types of funds cannot be redirected toward outside agencies in order to fund non-core activities. Therefore, any activities that we do fund and are supported by through federal or provincial funding may not be realized through the tax rate because we don't have the benefit of this if other demands are received and allocated to non-core agencies. So there is an opportunity here for the budget committee to identify the need for a policy that restricts funding to core activities. And the committee may suggest that such a policy be developed at this time. That it would be a policy that would restrict non-core asks from coming to council. So then they would not be able to, it would not affect the decision-making. At this time, I just wanted to bring to the attention of the committee as well that the city of St. Thomas is also receiving requests to support the two projects through the hospice and the hospital. So in summary, the impacts of adding large non-core activities related to being on the levy increases taxes from 1% to 2% per household. There's an inability for taxpayers to receive a donation receipt for tax purposes by doing it through the levy. The increase would be based on assessment. Support of projects is not subject to personal preference and therefore it's non-optional. And benefits of continued advocacy for funding of core activities do not significantly decrease levy pressures as intended when allocations to non-core activities are added. So at this time, staff suggests we continue to draft the 2024 budget using scenario A as the base, and that the budget committee determine whether they'd like to see additional information at that time once the budget is received in full using scenario B or C. And also staff requests clarification as to whether they would like a policy researched and drafted related to framework to inform funding related of non-core activities. And the recommendations are before you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jen, for that report. Definitely lots to think about. I think I'm going to open it up to committee members for questions and comments. Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Jennifer. I think you've been made aware of the increase from Amazon and the contributions from Amazon. How is this going to affect the budget going forward? It's fairly significant for the county. I know Amazon's most likely going to appeal right away, but we have to be careful about that too. But, any comment from your side on that?
Through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Jones. From our perspective, it will significantly add to the levy. However, as you said, we do anticipate that there would be an appeal, and if they were successful, that may significantly decrease what we would be seeing coming forward. At this time, it would be prudent to not commit everything that we are receiving and maybe put some of that in abeyance for future until we are certain of what the levy will be.
Yeah. Jen, thank you very much, and thank you for the question, Deputy Warden. Oftentimes, those of us not in the financial field get often confused by the phrases such as levy, tax rate, whatever. And I understand exactly what Deputy Warden's getting at. What would be the increase in the revenue stream because of Amazon? Not necessarily the impact on the levy, but do you understand where I'm coming from? When we're talking levy, to me, it's talking about what is the impact on, what is our budget requirements? It's the tax rate down the road that ultimately translates into what the impact is on the average ratepayer. So I certainly appreciate the opportunity for increased revenue sources coming in, whether it be from realized new growth or such as Amazon or even residential growth, even though they're still valued at 2016, which isn't fair and it isn't helping. But I think we need to look at the needs of the corporation, which brings us back to A, B, or C under those particular scenarios. And in encompassing the overall theme is, do we develop a policy regarding non-core? The only thing that I'm concerned about with developing that kind of a policy is if something new comes along, there has to be a doorway to get it to council. Not simply staff say, well, you know what? We have this policy, non-core is not allowed. Sorry. But I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to help council make these decisions with that policy. So with those comments in mind, that's why I'm throwing it back out to the committee members and see what you think. Yes, Mike, please, Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and through you, a question for Jennifer. I attended, well, we all did, I think, the hospital presentation, the hospice presentation, and both worthy causes. Option C, is that even available to us? I seem to recall that their request for funding was a tighter time frame than 10 years.
Through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Hens. Probably it'd be my thought process that if we were to offer them anything, they would probably accept it as we are able. So I don't think it's outside the realm, and they can certainly refuse it, but I don't feel that is a likely scenario.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll be quite honest, just to the committee itself, that I'm more inclined to take staff's advice and develop the budget needs as per option A, and then consider whether we have appetite at the end of the day for these non-core asks. And I agree with Councillor Hens, they're worthy projects and they're needed projects. But it's trying to argue how they fall within the municipal servicing bundle. And how do you justify that? So I'm wondering if go forward with option A, flesh out what our needs are before we consider the additional ask.
Through you, Warden, and I'm in agreement with the Warden and the comments made about by Councillor Hens as well. We've got a bit of uncertainty right now with respect to what the province will be doing at the lower tiers, obviously with development charges and how things will play out. Their budgets are a lot different than ours. And I mean, a lot of these projects, I think, might go forward without the help of the county. But I agree with the Warden that our first and perhaps our foremost responsibility to our ratepayers is doing what we can with the necessities. So I would support your comments, Warden.
And thank you for that. The other two, is that a good beginning place for you? Option A? Yes, Councillor Hens.
Yeah, and Mr. Warden, I agree, and lower tiers are faced with the same thing. We have a lot of asks out there and not as big a numbers as presented to the county or the ask to the county. But the same result, only a larger increase that we're faced at my municipality for these types of things. And when I look out at, in particular, Dutton Dunwich, and the need is so great on our roads and our wastewater treatment plant and everything that we have to do. It would be nice to be able to do all of these things, but when you look at our core responsibilities, doesn't really include some of this stuff. So I'm in agreement on scenario A at this time.
Okay, Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I agree. It's gonna be tough, and it is tough. I would have hoped to saw like not funding the whole amount. I think that's way out of our price range right now. With regards, we haven't really spoke too much about health recruitment partnership, and obviously I sit on that committee, and it is very difficult to recruit doctors, and the added money that the health recruitment partnership is asking for is to support more grants to bring these doctors in. We have a new recruiter, had to increase wages a little bit there. Just bear in mind that when we bring a doctor in, we have spent a lot of time to get that person to come to Elgin, and part of the program is that 40,000. We're looking at other venues through home builders, maybe help subsidize a new house. That has not come to fruition yet, but it's being fleshed out. It's going to be a challenge with what's what we're given health recruitment right now. It's becoming more challenging all the time. Other municipalities are doing the same thing, offering more money. And I think we have to be cognizant of that fact that we're growing. We need more doctors. The old doctors had large rosters. The new doctors don't want large rosters. They want half the size rosters. So every time we lose an older doctor, we pretty much have to replace that person with two new people.
Right.
Be very cognizant of that. It's going to be much more challenging in the future to bring new doctors in for St. Thomas, Elgin, wherever they land. They tend to want to gravitate to a city. So I think most of our foes will probably end up being in the city for the most part. But that doesn't mean that people from outside the city access that. I think majority of people have doctors that reside, their offices are within the city limits. Just food for thought.
You're absolutely right on that. And I'm thinking back to perhaps the more recent community safety and well-being meeting when it was revealed that perhaps 40% of the residents, Elgin, St. Thomas, access primary care physicians outside of the region. That's amazing. You know, it really is. It's astounding in that respect. But not when you consider where residents are. Our end of the community, down Bayham, we access a lot of servicing Tillsonburg, Oxford County, and I suppose Mike down at your end, you're accessing perhaps 4 counties or even outside. It is what it is. It's geography. But question for either you, Deputy Warden, or Don. The new initiative that the county is engaging with St. Thomas in the St. Catharines area for a broader health recruitment, it's $5,000 subscription fee. Is that captured within the ask from the city here? Or is that additional?
Thank you, Warden. There are, I believe, 3 different requests. I'm just trying to focus my memory. One was there was an additional $5,000 that we brought to council for the international recruitment. There was also an additional, I believe it was also $5,000 for 5 scholarships for local students who chose to study medicine. And then there was a third element. That's the one I'm struggling with. Jen, help me if you can, but there was an
extra per year.
an extra doctor per year incentive. And there are other requests that have not been brought to council yet, or I don't believe are reflective in the budget. There was a request last week, I believe, for an obstetrician gynecologist. There's been some retirements and so on. So suffice to say, I'm adding that in, other information to say there is a lot of unmet need, and we have been requested to increase our budget, I think around 35% for that particular
Right.
area. The same request was made by St. Thomas, so.
So the 71 to $100,000 doesn't capture all of those initiatives.
I believe it does not, it captures all, I believe, except for the last one with the gynecologist
Okay.
obstetrician.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Deputy
you, Mr.
Warden.
Warden. I guess with regards to the gynecologist obstetrician, there's a big struggle around the committee that it's not within our mandate to do that.
Hmm,
And that's the biggest challenge. You want to do the right thing, but it's not really in our wheelhouse, and so where does it stop?
yeah,
If we help them out with that, give them money. When a radiologist comes in, do we have to give them money? It's just gonna snowball, so we're having a bit of a difficult, we understand why the need is there. It definitely is a need. The committee's gotta do some wrestling with that, and I don't think we have the expertise to really be involved in that part of it personally, but
you're right. Absolutely. The mandate traditionally been looking for GPs or general practitioners, family practitioners rather than specialists. Seems like it's more the realm of the larger health unit, or not the health unit, but the hospital system or something, to be trying to recruit those kind of specialists. But yeah, I don't envy the task that the committee has. Okay. I'm sensing though that there's a consensus around the committee to recommend option A. I'm not seeing a disagreement. So we'll move forward in that basis. What about a policy? You want to have staff craft a policy. It makes it easier in some respects, but it also ties your hands. And I think perhaps the committee and or council is probably mature enough to wade through this without a policy, but Deputy Warden?
I would probably be against it.
Yeah.
I think we're all, like you said, mature people. We have to at some time say no when we know we don't want to, but
Yeah.
it's just a reality of the situation. Those are big asks. They are
Sure
big
they are.
asks. Yeah.
You okay with that? Okay, all right. Got it marked up. Okay, are we ready for a resolution on this particular item then? I think we are. Okay, let's,
Be it resolved that staff continue to compile the 2024 budget using scenario A as outlined in the report, and that no scenario be provided as an optional add to the 2024 budget for consideration once the levy increase is known, and that staff do not create a draft policy that directs non-core funding activities to be considered by the budget committee and approved by council at a future date, and that the report dated November 8th, 2023, titled Funding Considerations for Budget 2024 by the Director of Financial Services Treasurer be received and filed.
okay, that's the motion. Do we have a mover and seconder? Counselor Sloan. And Counselor Hentz. All in favor? Then it's carried. Thank you. Help set the stage. 6.2 Engineering Services Capital Projects Budget Presentation. Buckle in, this is a long one, right?
It is lengthy, Mr. Warden, yes. I'd be happy to answer questions throughout the presentation while we're on a slide, if any come up. You know, council makes significant investments in county transportation infrastructure, and staff thought it was important that council be aware of how we manage these assets and how we make these sound investment recommendations to council. So it is a little lengthier than what you would normally get in a budget presentation. So that's the rationale as to why there's a little more education here. So go to the next slide. So who are we? We're in the Transportation Department. We're responsible for all road infrastructure management activities. We complete all the asset management planning. We develop the capital projects, we develop construction tenders, or we manage consultants who develop those construction tenders if they're of significant size. If it's an urban reconstruction project, for instance, or if it's a bridge involved, we'll get consultants to do that work for us. We also provide all county road corridor control. So anybody who encroaches on the county road property, we facilitate those approvals through our department, as well as we provide the county road maintenance agreement contract oversight. Why do we do it? The county has requirements to comply with the Municipal Act as well as many Ontario regulations. So it's an essential service, and good roads provide the backbone to our economy. You can only order so much on Amazon. It still has to come to your residence over a roadway. So roads are important to bring goods to market, workers to employers, students to school. They support local tourism and allow emergency services to provide effective services. We reviewed the 2024 budget survey results, and those results indicated that respondents, more than 2/3 of them, said that transportation services is either one of the most important or a very important service, and only less than 1% indicated that it wasn't an important service at all. Most residents, 93%, indicated that investments in transportation services should either be maintained or increased. And finally, respondents cited that it's going to be Elgin County's largest challenge tied with senior services, and that is to maintain high quality roads, bridges, and critical infrastructure. We also took into account inflation. Large dollar values are significantly impacted by inflation. We're seeing inflation now. So the 10-year plan utilizes the most current construction rates experienced by the county this year, as well as we've increased future years of inflation by a historical average of 2%. Those can always be adjusted if we experience something different. I wanted to provide you an example of asphalt cement. Asphalt cement is the black substance that we put in. It's in hot mix asphalt, and we put it in surface treatment, microsurfacing. This actually forms a significant part of the capital costs because all of those type of activities are tied to an asphalt cement index, and that index fluctuates throughout the year. For example, I provided a little table there. Since 2018, the cost of AC, asphalt cement, has increased about 2/3 in price. That has a real impact of almost $500,000 to our budget. And really that increase has been experienced over the last 2 years, 2022 and 2023. So I just wanted to impress upon council that some of these inflationary components are out of our control. Yes, absolutely.
I apologize for interrupting. I find this very interesting. It's super.
Yeah.
Asphalt cement, we're not buying it individually. If we are, why aren't we hedging?
Right. So we do not purchase it separately. It forms part of the contract. And sometimes if you're referring to hedging, sometimes we'll anticipate what a price may go up to in the summertime because it does increase in the summertime. It's a supply and demand type of index commodity. Either we're assuming the risk or the contractor's assuming the risk. We can guess at what the price is, but they'll bake that price into the contract. So regardless, we're paying at the end of the day based on that value.
And there's no way with the size of us, of Elgin County, looking at future pricing on our own and supplying that through the contractor at a fixed rate.
There's only 4 or 5 suppliers of asphalt cement in the province of Ontario, and contractors aren't necessarily tied to them within the same company. So it would be challenging because there are different grades of asphalt cement depending on which region you're in to purchase the commodity and tell another contractor you have to use this supplier for it. Their labs may not be set up with that supplier. If there's an issue with the quality of the hot mix, then we'll be brought into it because we're going to have some responsibility as to the supplier of the material that we chose. I don't know of another municipality that purchased the AC separately.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Warden.
next slide, please. We've also looked at other documents on how they relate to the 10-year capital plan. We looked at the service delivery review, and the road maintenance agreement has been thoroughly reviewed and amended to have another additional 5-year term. I believe 5 of our 7 local municipal partners have executed that document. We also reviewed council's strategic plan, and within that plan, we look at completing things differently. We engage the public, and we're trying to foster a healthy environment with reusing road materials. And we also are very cognizant of delivering mandated services at the lowest life cycle cost. We reviewed other documents and departmental plans, and most significantly is the county's asset management plan and policy. And the plan before you ensures compliance with those documents. So we've all seen the county road map. This is the county road network, and what's new in this map, and difficult to see on the screen, but you'll be able to see it on the slide, is these are renewed functional classifications as completed in the work through the Transportation Master Plan. It's no surprise you see busier roads and roads that are classified as major arterial roadways that connect the largest population density areas. So in summary, County Council is responsible for 687 county road kilometers. We have a pretty diverse average daily traffic volume. They could be as low as 300 cars a day and as much as 14,000 cars a day when you get to Highbury Ave, for instance. Our average county road has just over 2,000 cars a day. What's of interest and note, and this theme will be revisited on a number of future slides, is half of our road network was constructed in the 1970s and the 1980s. The county had a significant workforce at that time, and our predecessors constructed many county roads during those decades. And that translates into half of our road network now being 40 and 50 years old. This is a simple graph showing you the kilometers of road that were constructed in those various decades. And most importantly is where these roads reside in their life cycle today. Next slide. This is a snapshot of the asset management plan with some key highlights. The plan was adopted by County Council in 2022 and in accordance with Ontario Regulation 588-17. Some highlights is we have a replacement value just for our road system that exceeds $1 billion. Our roads that are in good condition. And within the 10-year plan, just in roadways, we're proposing an investment of $165 million. 88% of the county road system are asphalt roads, and the remaining 85 kilometers are surface treatment or tar and chip roadways. So how do we rate our roadways? This is a page out of our asset management plan, and we utilize a rating system that's derived from the MTO's inventory manual, and it relates to the capability a road has to support a load and resist deformation. And we call that a structural adequacy rating at a 20. And there's some various road snapshots. These are all county roads, and you can see they're in different stages within their life cycle, and they receive the appropriate rating. That rating will also dictate on what type of investment that we propose to County Council. For instance, if we see structural deformations, you simply can't remedy that with a topical treatment. Our road system is also divided into 248 unique asset sections, and each one of those is assigned a rating. Many of you have likely seen this typical deterioration curve model. This is what a typical road, or really any asset, will do if you don't invest in it. You build something, it will remain in good condition for a period of years, and then you'll get on a slippery slope where it will deteriorate, and it'll start to deteriorate at an increased pace. And then it'll level off. Once it's old and deteriorated, it'll stay in that condition for quite some time. So that's the curve without investment. Our capital plan is very different than this. We propose timely investments throughout the road or bridge's life cycle to ensure that the asset can remain in good condition as long as possible, yielding the lowest life cycle cost. So this is sort of a timeline of what a typical road would receive in treatments. So you see on the far left there, there's new construction. This is a brand new paved road. We expect to get 18 years of life cycle out of that road before we would have to make any further investment. Typically, we will resurface that road twice over the next couple of decades. The first time it gets resurfaced, we might get 14 or 15 years out of it. The second time you resurface it, you don't get that same life cycle. Those cracks will start propagating through at a quicker pace. So at that point, we go into a holding strategy and we'll typically put thin surfacings on the roadway. And we like to use microsurfacing for asphalt roadways. And again, this is because if we were to just simply put more hot mix pavement on there, we wouldn't yield the same life cycle out of that success, of course, because the cracks you see on the roadway get wider the deeper you get down into that pavement structure. And you can't simply put a Band-Aid on a crack and think it'll go away. Eventually, the cycle does repeat itself and you get into recycling roadways. And this is the stage we're in now. You'll see that that life cycle gets us about 50 years. I'd mentioned most of our roads were originally reconstructed about that time ago. So that's why you'll see many of our roads getting rehabilitated at this time. So what does that typical timeline cost? So theoretically, using today's rates, we can reconstruct a rural roadway for about $950,000. This is per kilometer. And then if 14 years later, we resurface that kilometer roadway and put new granular shoulders on, 150,000, that happens again 12 years later. And then we get into this holding strategy of microsurfacing. Those treatments don't, my math is wrong there. That second last bullet point, 150,000 should only be 50,000, but it doesn't have a big impact on the total cost because you'll see over the 57-year life cycle of the road, we're going to be spending about $1.4 million per kilometer. And that equates to about $25,000 per kilometer per year. And as previously mentioned, council is responsible for 687 of these. And this is the best case scenario because out of that 687, 50 kilometers are urban roadway sections, much more expensive to reconstruct. But you'll see generally, we require a $17.5 million annual investment to maintain just our county road assets, theoretically. So that's a way staff looks at the capital plan and ensures we're in the ballpark with our investments because we can justify it looking at this. This does not include bridges or culverts. This does not include supporting infrastructure such as traffic signals, signs, roundabouts, or inflation. You start compounding 2% inflation over a 10-year plan, you increase cost by 40%. So what do we do to reduce these life cycle costs? These are the type of strategies we've been utilizing over the last couple decades. As I'd mentioned, we get into a point where the roadway won't benefit from increased asphalt on the roadway. It's already 6-8 inches thick. So what do? It goes into a holding strategy. We like to use microsurfacing. And we also like to defer projects. We allow roads to grow old. Secondly, we use a lot of culvert slip lining. And then finally, we recycle roads. And I'll explain more about these activities in the following slides. So many of you have likely seen microsurfacing occur on the roadways. It's a cold emulsion-based system. It's been around for many, many decades, used predominantly in Canada, most recently in the last, say, 20 years. There's a chemical break that occurs with the emulsion. You can see it goes down brown and it turns nice, rich, and black. What this does to the roadways is it provides a nice new dark surface, which aids in the contrast to pavement markings. It actually attracts thermal radiation that aids with snow debonding and snow melt. And the texture of the surface allows road salts to be retained on the surface to also aid in debonding of the snow. It seals small cracks. It does improve the ride. And like I said, we predominantly utilize this as a holding strategy, understanding that if you start seeing microsurfacing getting applied to a road within the next 10 years ago, we'll be recycling that roadway. Project deferrals. This photo is a picture of Rodney, downtown Rodney, before the reconstruction that happened most recently in 2021. Once a road is at the end of its life cycle, as long as it remains safe to travel at the posted speed and it doesn't flood, it can remain in that condition for a very long time. We had a long-standing joke about Miller Road, and Councillor Hentz may recall It was an expensive construction project. Some members of council thought it was a redundant road, and it remained in an old state for a very long time before it was finally reconstructed. And those are prudent projects to defer because they're still functional. You'll see this old photo. You'll see longitudinal cracking down the center lanes. That's actually an indication of the original concrete surface that was underneath this roadway. That was a provincial highway, and I think it was Highway 75 in the 1930s when it was reconstructed. The following slide shows the road reconstructed. Looks the same. Yeah, the cracks are gone. There's tactile plates on the sidewalks, but you can see that after a $5 million investment, you do get a beautiful new road, and the residents and the businesses do appreciate it, but it doesn't look a lot different than that old road. So project deferrals is a prudent way to extend life cycles. Culvert slip lining. Over the past 100 years, steel was the material of choice for culverts across roadways. Those steel culverts have a typical lifespan of 40 to 60 years, depending on the acidity of the water that goes through it. And soon as those steel pipes corrode, because they are soil steel structures, they rely on the backfill around the pipe for their structural integrity. So as soon as you have holes in them and the backfill that surrounds the pipes wash away, they become susceptible to collapse and failure. So now that most of our roads that we're looking at rehabilitating are in the age where these culverts are aging, you'll notice we are actively sliplining culverts on many roads. For instance, we sliplined 75 culverts just this calendar year right now. And the roads that we've selected, once again, you'll see in a few years, those are ones we're proposing to rehabilitate. We've done hundreds of them over the last decade. And for those of you who are unaware, I'm sure most of you are, there's a specially designed liner, high density polyethylene plastic liner that gets inserted into the steel pipe. It's designed to have a narrower profile, so it fits in there, but it's very robust because it handles the pressure grouting around the hose pipe. And therefore, this is quite a structure when we're done. And people in the future that are going to manage the road system are going to have a challenge to remove these from the ground, because not only is the hose pipe still intact, you've got a concrete lining and then a plastic lining within it. So the one disadvantage is, although you can accommodate the same flow, the smooth wall, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're about to answer my question.
Yeah.
With the weather we've had, and we've had this discussion, we're decreasing the diameter of these pipes. We have a number of pipes in Dutton Dunwich that aren't handling the flow now. So I'm having trouble wrapping my head around how you decrease the diameter and you handle the same or more water.
Yeah, excellent question. And it becomes a challenge if the drainage in which it benefits is susceptible for us raising the invert. Normally, the bottom of the culvert will be raised 4 to 6 inches after this treatment. And sometimes that does cause a concern, typically not for the county roads, but for adjacent landowners who rely on the county's culvert as an outlet. Most of these culverts are not municipal drains. Their purpose is for the county road. And therefore, if there's an additional drainage requirement, the landowner can always apply under the Drainage Act. Now, reducing the size because the existing pipes are corrugated, it has a roughness coefficient in how much water it can actually transmit. The new liners are smooth wall, so they can actually transmit the same volume. However, they do increase the velocity of that water. So it'll rely on the head pressure. So you will see maybe ditches will flood for a short period of time, but water will quickly get away. So it is a consideration. It's less expensive, especially for deeper culverts, to line one and drill a smaller one beside it, rather than it is to excavate the road hundreds of times a year, impact traffic, detour routes, all those other activities. So slip lining culverts is an excellent tool, but it isn't perfect in every scenario. We will still conventionally replace culverts on occasion.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next slide, please. Finally, recycling. Recycling, for those of you who are not familiar with this piece of equipment, you likely have seen it go down the roads. I'll quickly explain it. This particularly is a Cyrene train. It's a type of recycling called cold in place recycling with expanded asphalt material. In this case, the asphalt cement that's housed in that tanker truck up front is actually heated, and it's piped back to the third unit. The second unit is mills up the road. It's a traditional milling machine that you would see, and we normally take either 4 or 5 inches off the surface of the roadway to mitigate those cracks. That material gets conveyed up to a screening deck, and it all gets resized, and there's a proper mix design. It's almost like a mobile asphalt plant that gets built here. This new asphalt coated, specifically graded material is then put into a chamber with the hot asphalt cement, and they add water in there. And you know, they say never throw water on a grease fire. We want to do that in this case because the asphalt cement will increase 100 times its size, and it coats all the asphalt particles. Then that material is conveyed into a conventional asphalt paver and laid down and compacted. The compaction train is very long because you're compacting a lot of material on there. Once we have these recycle mats, because their density is less, which is really good for mitigating reflective cracking, but you always have to surface it with something. We've surfaced it with surface treatment, double surface treatment, bonded wearing course, fiber mat, and most of the time we cover it with hot mix asphalt. So just of note, many of you may have heard over the years that we should be doing better incorporating recycled asphalt into our hot mix designs. Staff isn't a proponent of that activity because our base is 100% reused material. We like to ensure that the material we cover our roads with is virgin asphalt, and so we completely understand the properties and get the largest life cycle out of them. The reason recycling is so advantageous to us is because many of our roads are within the life cycle of having lots of asphalt there already on the base. And our predecessors and councils before have made very good investments in our roads. We have a good ditching system. Roads are typically elevated and the platform sufficiently wide enough. The granular bases that were constructed on these roads can last for hundreds of years, and we just keep replacing the pavement structure on top. So for your interest, this is a bar graph showing the number of projects that we've done with recycling over since 1996. 96 was our first experience with this. It was actually Curry Road in Dutton, south of Wallacestown. After we did that project, we were very comfortable with the process and said, we're going to use this. We see the benefits. We have a couple spikes there in 97 and 98. We used highway transfer money from the province to cover many of the downloaded provincial highways. There was a number of years where there was simply insufficient funding with investment into the county's transportation network. We were doing a lot of microsurfacing and holding strategies, but then we got back into road recycling. The first couple of years were again covering downloaded highways from the MTO, but then we started working on the road system we had before us. So we've done 53 projects, all successful, and we've covered almost half of our road system doing recycling. So why do we use recycling? Well, you know, typically we want to ensure that our ratepayers and road users are satisfied. And these are the type of questions I get frequently during construction. What are you doing to my road? Are you closing my road? Why are you doing this? And is it the best use of my tax dollars? And I'm able to provide these type of answers. I tell them it's a moving operation. The road will be remain open at all times. We're reusing existing road materials to preserve natural resources and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And best of all, it's cost effective. And we have satisfied constituents. Most of them are not as happy as this constituent in this slide. However, they all do appreciate what we're trying to achieve because it's very understandable. And most of them are very happy with the answers we provide. In all seriousness, recycling is a great tool to utilize. And I want to impress how the greenhouse gas reductions come into play. Because we're an in-place mobile operation, and if we can do about 2 kilometers a day, normally you would have to bring in 50 loads of hot mix asphalt from a plant somewhere. This year, our contractor, Brantco Construction, was from Cambridge. So they would have had to have 50 loads of triaxles come down here and go back empty each day to be that similar productivity of road reconstruction. So when the province issues their guidelines for greenhouse gas reductions, that's the predominant reason why recycling is so environmentally friendly. That plus we're reusing the aggregate that's there. We're not depleting natural resources. And we talked about asphalt cement earlier on how expensive it is. A typical hot mix has about 5% of its volume as asphalt cement. We only have to add about 1 or 1.5% to this mix because we're rejuvenating and reusing all the asphalt coated particles. All those are the reasons why the costs come down with this process. So sometimes we have surface treated roads that look like this, and there isn't enough hot mix on there. There's maybe an inch of double surface treatment and not great granular base underneath it. We can still use this recycling process to address roads like this. So roads that have are encroaching around 900 cars a day, tar and chip simply won't hold up to those roads. So we have to beef them up. What we'll do is we'll actually install a windrow of recycled asphalt in front of the recycling train, as if there was asphalt on the roadway. We've done this very successfully in most of these municipalities. We've done Dunborough Road this way. We've covered all of Third Line and Southold utilizing this treatment. In Central Elgin, we've done Ferguson Line. In Malahide, we've done Lyons Line and Avon Drive, where we've imported recycled asphalt material in front of the recycling train, then recycled the road and then paved on top. And because those roads are now, only 1,000 cars a day, we expect those roads to last a very long time. This is simply another photo of being able to manage traffic flow even on these narrower roads that don't have shoulders utilizing this technique. Conventionally, you would have to pulverize the road, add gravel, double surface treated or pave it. That's much costlier and it's a disruption to traffic. So that's some of the ways we manage road assets. We still have lots of bridges and culverts. This is a county map showing where all our bridges and culverts are located. In summary, we have 58 bridges that we manage, 84 large culverts. Again, these are structures with a greater than a 3-meter span. These are large culverts. We're mandated to adhere to the Ontario Structure Inspection Manual. We complete inspections every 2 years by experienced professional engineering consultants following the manual's criterion and per Ontario Regulation 47210. And then based on the outcomes of those inspection reports is how the proposed investments in the 10-year plan come to life. Similar to the road assets, each bridge or culvert asset gets a rating. In this case, it's called a bridge condition index. You'll note that our structures are in relatively good condition with an average score rating of 86 out of 100. This bar chart is an excerpt from our asset management plan. It indicates that although our structures are in good condition, you'll notice that many of them are encroaching the useful life. That's 75 years that we guesstimate on what a bridge or culvert's life should be, can be extended, but at some point replacement is inevitable. And you'll note in the 10-year plan that there are lots of structures we're looking at rehabilitating and a few that we are replacing simply because of their age. Finally, we have other transportation assets. We have 22 intersections that have either an intersection control beacon or have traffic signals. We have streetlights. For council's information, the only time the county will put streetlights up on a county road is either at intersections where we have signalized intersections or intersection control beacons, or where we have we're reconstructing a road and we have a sag, and the headlight distance doesn't allow you to see far enough under nighttime conditions. We have this on New Sarum Bridge in Belmont. We also have it through BAM on Calton Line. 2 locations, Mitchell Road and Calton Bridge. So in those instances, We have we have illumination, but it's only to support the roadway design. Similarly to the bridges, some of these assets have exceeded their service life. However, the one that has exceeded it, the streetlights, all of those have been relamped with LED bulbs. So we're extending the life cycle of those masts, and we think we still have useful years left in those. So these are all the types of things that are considered when formulating the 10-year capital plan. Each one of the county's 248 road sections is reviewed. We look at the condition. We understand its age and what place it is within that life cycle. We look at the previous construction history. What did we do? How long ago were we there? How long did that treatment last? We anticipate future traffic volumes and refer to existing traffic volumes. The road classification is also very important. A major arterial road is going to get treated different than a local road. We look to our local municipal partners and if there are ongoing maintenance concerns, how we can address those. Can we pave a shoulder? Can we address something that reduces maintenance activities? Are there any drainage deficiencies? Do we have to apply for a municipal drain outlet? We also consider plans by others, development number one, and we also talk to the local municipality. For instance, we're looking at scheduling the reconstruction of Fingal, and we're working with staff in the township of Southwold to understand when the best time is to do that to accommodate work that the township is doing with servicing. Finally, timing and phasing with other planned projects. We don't want to have a bridge out where we need a detour route, and that detour route overlaps into another road we're reconstructing. And finally, we try to balance across the entire geographic map of Elgin County. If it's possible, we like to work in every municipality every single year. So for 2023, these are the unit rates we utilize within the plan. These are the various types of activities you'll see us proposing, and those are the unit rates per kilometer we'll use. And after all of that, we get to a 10-year plan. And in that 10-year plan, we are proposing a total investment of almost $188 million and an average annual investment of just shy of $19 million. That breaks out to this bar chart. Every color is depicted by a different type of activity. You'll notice there's variations every year within the plan, and that's normal. It does fluctuate. And there is some opportunity for council on an annual basis to make adjustment. For example, you'll see a spike in 2026. Part of that is attributed to the second from the top, the light green portion, which identifies over $5 million worth of structure needs. $4 million of those needs is attributed to the replacement of the Fulton Bridge and the Jamestown Bridge, which are both town line bridges not on county roadways. Through the process of the transportation master plan, we'll be considering asset rationalization, and that information we brought to council. And there may be an opportunity for council to reduce the cost by either downloading those assets or simply decommissioning them altogether.
Okay. Grant, you've got a question?
Thank you, Warden. I guess I was premature. I know with Fulton Bridge, what's the traffic count? 20 cars per week?
It's less than 50 for sure.
And I think there's really only one justifiable solution to that one is it's done. Well, there's access from both directions, right? It's you have access up to Quaker, up past the county building where you have your yard right now. It goes right up through there. So what few residents can quickly scoot out to Sunset. And as far as the locals on the westward side of the creek, the only real reason to go that direction is crap tour. So. You can't cross it with farm vehicles. It's just too small now. They actually go through the creek next door to it.
Okay, eliminates the need.
Councillor Jones is correct. There's a low-level crossing beside the structure, and we find that's more use than the structure itself because it's a through truss. It has physical limitations, and then because it's 100 years old, it keeps getting reduced in its load posting. So because there are assets now and they're identified in our OSIM reports to be replaced, those are in the budget for 2026. But before that time, we anticipate the transportation master plan to be completed, and council will be able to completely discuss road rationalization and asset rationalization, and those type of decisions could improve the outlook of the 10-year plan. So for 2024, here's the list of proposed activities drilling down into next year's work. The green items are road related, the blue are structures, and then the orange ones at the bottom are sort of miscellaneous ones. This is that same graph shown in a map view. And then we get to the 10-year plan. So in how this impacts the taxation plan. So, and I'd ask the Director of Finance to jump in at any time through these slides. So what's important here is we're comparing this to the base year of 2023. And although the years fluctuate, they did in the 2023 plan that was presented to council, and they will once again, as I showed you, the new 10-year plan does fluctuate annually. You look at the grand total, they're very similar, 187 million, 187, 800,000. So in the grand scheme of things, we're recommending a very similar amount. And some things have changed though. These are the significant differences between the two plans. So first of all, last year, council deferred 2 projects, and now staff is proposing that those projects be implemented in 2024. And that was the reconstruction of the Port Talbot Hill on Fingal Line, as well as the St. George Street reconstruction. As I had previously mentioned, staff will, if council is looking to reduce capital spending, staff will be recommending reconstruction projects. Resurfacing projects are more critical in their timing, where if you lose an investment window, you're going to have a more expensive cost down the road. But if you're looking at ripping up a road and starting from scratch anyway, you'll likely have some opportunity to defer those projects. Secondly, there was a proposed roundabout at the intersections of Highway 3, Ron McNeil Line, Wonderland Road. And now that the MTO is proposing an interchange at that location, we removed a placeholder where we had $3.33 million. That was Elgin's share. There's a section of Ron McNeil Line that resides within the city of St. Thomas, is no longer a county road. The 10-year plan had that section of road being rehabilitated for $780,000. And finally, we revised the plan to include our most recent unit rate experience based on 2023 construction pricing. So here's the proposed 2024 operating and capital budget. The actual column and in the second column with the asterisk is from November the 7th. That's why those figures are less than full year's figures. It should be noted that the wages are down also in that column because of vacancies in this department. And that in next year's budget, you'll see that the wages have increased, and that's because the director's salary will be 100% within the budget. And you should see offsetting decreases in the economic development in the planning departments. So this table incorporates amortization as well as the proposed capital budget changes for 2024. Of note, you'll see that is included is a 3.8% CPI increase for the RMA, and that translates into 144,000 increase that for allocations to our local municipal partners. Anything else you want to say on this slide?
I just wanted to let the budget committee know that the normal CPI that we use is the October over October, but that's not available until November 15th. So we have used the September over September, which is 3.8, and that's as close we feel to where it will land in October. So just so you're aware.
Missed it by a day.
So this is a summary slide that shows the total proposed operating capital budgets for the department. There is under the capital row, there's a $3.5 million capital budget increase, but that is compared to what was presented in 2023. It should be noted that the previous 10-year plan had identified $23 million spending in 2024. In this new proposed plan shows spending of $19.6 million investment. Again, the grand total over the 10 years is very similar, but it does fluctuate year to year. And some of that decrease was removing of the roundabout. But we did have to add the projects that were deferred last year, and it sort of cascaded a number of projects. I'd like to mention that I failed to do so, but the development going around the city of St. Thomas and what the MTO has planned has necessitated some projects that we had planned to be deferred because county roads will be utilized as detour routes during the construction of some of these major interchanges. So we wanted to ensure that we weren't also doing construction on these detour routes, although nothing has been formally requested nor approved. It's what staff's anticipating.
Trying to appear cooperative.
The next slide shows that there is significant, you want to speak to the slide about the available capital reserve?
Yeah, sure. So while we were looking at the total overall need for this department, it is an increase to what we had anticipated. So we will be able to use the reserve that we have set aside for capital. Right now, it's sitting at 4.5 million. So we would be able to offset the $3.5 million increase on capital using that reserve if we needed to offset some of the levy pressure. So I just wanted to bring that to council, to your committee's attention at this time, so that you're aware that we do have a contingency plan and we do have some funds set aside for that.
I'd also like to note that although the annual spend for capital fluctuates up and down, our average is 18.8 million, and we're proposing $19.6 million investment in 2024. So this is above average a year. So this type of draw on the capital reserve won't be consistent. And the final slide is the recommendation that the engineering services operating capital budget is provided today be included for consideration as part of the 2024 budget and confirmed at a later date. I was cognizant of the noon hour and I rifled through that. And so if there are any questions, I'd be pleased to address them now, Mr. Warden.
And thank you, Peter, and thank you for taking it through fairly quickly. A lot of thoughts gone behind this presentation, so I recognize the needs from a capital point of view, and I am, in my own personal opinion, that capital is one of those things we don't sacrifice because it will cost us more down the road to do. But I'll open up to comments. Councilor Sloan.
So could you just give me the Coles notes of the 3.5 that's extra? I'm not sure I picked that up. Why is there 3.5 million extra? I see the 3.6 here, but that's capital reserve. I mean, but you talked about your overage from last year.
Yeah, so last year we had in the capital plan said it was proposed $23 million that we were going to spend in 2024. So that has been reduced down now to the 19 in order to smooth the taxes a little bit.
With the reserve,
10-year.
with money from the reserve.
The money from the reserve would cover it, yes. No, it's not additional on top of that reserve. It would fall within the reserve that we currently have set aside.
Okay, may I rephrase, Warden?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the budget for 2020? What was the budget for 2024 capital when it was provided to us last year?
23 million,
What is it now?
19.
With 4 million coming from a reserve?
No,
No. A portion of it.
we've reset the budget so that it's a new budget, so that you're not having to manage what was proposed last year.
What's happening is that the roundabout, 3.3 million off the roundabout is coming off. Because we're no longer doing that project with the number 3 bypass that's going to be taking place. So what was the other project now, Peter?
We had deferred to last year.
We deferred the 5.5 million and then put that back into this year. So 5.5 in minus the 3.3 out, but there was another project that was canceled because of the development. Thank you, 780,000.
So through the warden, I have concerns with respect to putting projects off. We always talk about will cost more later. The markets are up this morning because inflation is down. I'm not saying that some of these projects and they have to be done, and you've given a very thorough presentation and I've learned a lot today and I thank you for that. The question I have is that if we're looking at certain projects that might be less expensive as they go on because of inflation changes, because of the fact that the economy is not as robust, we at our council last night looked at our building permits, which are down, to say significantly would be an understatement. I also, through your presentation, was interested in a couple of things about life cycle and 57 years. So how long has it been 57 years? I take it as we progress, the life cycle of these roads becomes longer. Is that fair? Depends. And I'm learning, Peter, so please take this with it's respectful.
Absolutely. That's a theoretical timeline, depending on what the road is used for, its functional classification, that life cycle does change. I would hope that our techniques and our understanding of road science has increased over the number of decades. And so I would say we are improving our methods and the life cycle should increase going forward, yes.
Thank you. And a follow-up, when we look at such opportunities like if you look at the St. George the capital project in St. George Street, which is the municipality of Central Elgin, do we ever look at these projects for sort of you gave us options on the budget, you can do A, you can do B, we use lettering. I realize that there's an inherent responsibility for it to be done to a code, to all that stuff. Are there in any of these capital projects needs versus wants?
Not as presented in the plan. What's presented in the plan is to renew an asset when required or make a timely investment to yield the lowest life cycle cost. So for instance, the St. George Street reconstruction project, some of that is curb and gutter, some of it's a semi-urban section, municipal drains cross through that roadway. We want to eliminate those, provide new outlets. We also want to offset the sidewalk from the edge of roadway that we've received countless concerns about pedestrian safety. So the project, although it could still be deferred another year, it's still a functional roadway. The project deals with all these outstanding issues that will eventually need to be addressed. The drainage system will collapse at some point, but we're not there yet. So if council's looking for a further reduction in spending, very likely that would be one that staff would recommend that could be deferred another year. However, it would have implications for the other 100+ projects in the plan as well.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, good questions. Anything else? Other members? Yep. Councillor Hens.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a comment. I like the looks of this 10-year capital plan a lot better. And I think to be consistent, if you're increased like 23 million proposed last year, a variation of 4 to 5 million, either we're looking at a large tax increase that year or drawing on reserves. So I think you've done a great service on evening out our capital requests over the next 10 years. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Warden, if I may, I just wanted to indicate, thank you for acknowledging that, because that was something that we purposely tried to do. Is we saw that the last capital plan had spikes and troughs, and we'd be relying on reserves to smooth out that fluctuation. But that was purposeful in the planning and what we've proposed this year. Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? Oh, sorry, Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And I guess I agree with Councillor Hens's comments about evening it out. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but I think you presented a very fair part of your budget.
Okay, are we comfortable moving on with the resolution? It's to be included for consideration as part of the 2024 budget. I don't see any concerns. It's probably the quickest, delivery of the capital, from engineering that. Yeah, okay. Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that the engineering services operating and capital budget as provided today be included for consideration as part of the 2024 budget and confirmed at a later date.
Okay, anyone interested in moving that? Counselor Hentz. And Deputy Warden Jones will second that. All in favor? And it is carried. Thank you. We don't have any other business or correspondence, no closed meeting. Date of the next meeting. So we'll meet again on the 29th at 10:30 a.m. Which brings us to an adjournment motion.
Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 12:15 PM to meet again on November 29th, 2023 at 10:30 AM.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Warden Jones, Counselor Sloan. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We are adjourned.